Now, moving on, as we know, the Greater Bay Area is on its way to becoming the world's top science and technology hub. Now, today we have Mr. Eric Chan, Chief Public Mission Officer of Cyberport. We have Mr. Peter Mock, Head of Greater Bay Area of HKSTP. Mr. Ricky Lee, Managing Director of Kroll, and we also have Mr. Edward Au. He's a China Southern Region Managing Director of Deloitte. So everyone, let's put our hands together. Thank you so much. And everyone, please grab a microphone in hand. And today, they will be joining us on stage to discuss about the future of the Greater Bay Area. Everyone, please board the stage when you're ready. Thank you so much. Great. Everyone, please get comfortable. All right, and the stage is all yours, please.
Welcome, everyone. And GBA and Web3 are the buzzwords, these days. And particularly, recently, they are also getting hotter and hotter, especially on Web3. And actually, everyone is talking about, for example, NFTs, Metaverse, and we also see more local organizations now actually getting into the Metaverse journey in virtual world by actually creating new and immersive experience for the customers. And additionally, we also have seen more organizations in leveraging NFT to really enhance their customer loyalties and also create their branding as well. At the same time, we also see, there are various initiatives by government that has actually amounting to 135 billion funds have been allocated over the past few years with an objective to develop Hong Kong into an R&B hub. Based on the Global Innovation Index 2020, Hong Kong, together with Shenzhen and Guangzhou, we so-called the Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Guangzhou Technology Cluster, actually has been named the second largest technology cluster in the world. And with this in mind, as the MC mentioned, we have the pleasure of having Eric Chan, the Chief Public Missions Officer of Cyberport Hong Kong, and also Peter Mock, Head of GBA, Hong Kong Science Technology Park, as well as from the investor and also market perspective, Ricky Lee, Managing Director of Kroll, to share with us their perspective on these two hot topics, GBA and Web3. So good afternoon, everyone. So my first question to all of you is on the development of R&T ecosystem and sentiment in Hong Kong over the past few years. And clearly from capital market perspective, there's a lot of achievements for Hong Kong. For example, Hong Kong has attracted a lot of mainland tech giants to list in Hong Kong. And also, Hong Kong is now the second largest global financing platform for biotech sectors. And also, in last year, we welcomed the listing of the first local unicorn in Hong Kong. And so it seems that it's quite robust. But definitely, when we talk about ecosystem, it's much wider than just a listing platform or fundraising platform. So my question is, how do you see the growth in the city as an innovation hub over the past few years? So maybe Eric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, definitely in recent years, we have seen keen interest from both the government and businesses on innovation and tech. And just the Hong Kong government has already invested over 130 billion to promote the development of INT. And definitely, we hope that we can really consolidate on Hong Kong's strength as an international city, with good rule of law to protect IP, and also good international accounting system, to facilitate, IP trading or startup growth and all these. But when I zoom in, to Cyberport, over this past few years, we have seen tremendous growth, and up to Today, we have already gathered around 1,800 startup and tech companies in our community, majority focusing on digital tech, especially in fintech, smart living, and digital entertainment. As an ecosystem builder, the key thing we do is really to make sure that we have sufficient funding sources, to support the growth of startup. And also, we find a lot of opportunity for our startup, to do businesses with industry. Hence, we provide an environment, for solution adoptions through many of our partnership networks, like the enterprise network, where we help startups to find businesses for their adoption of solutions, invest network, for investment, and also professional service network to help them on their scale-up journey. But then I also would like to emphasize the point that Hong Kong is very international, and Cyberport is also very international. In the Cyberport populations, 1/4 of the startup communities are actually from outside of Hong Kong. And this is like a resembling of Hong Kong, as a small scale of Hong Kong. And as an ecosystem builder, I think this is utmost important that we maintain this international connectivity with the rest of the innovation hub, if we are to have a dot on the global scene. And we continue to do that through our collaboration with many of our international partners ecosystem. Just this month, we are bringing 12 gaming companies to Finland and Sweden in collaboration with Nordic Innovation House, supported by funding from Create Hong Kong. And this is just some of the examples how I see Hong Kong need to build this innovation and technology hub for China.
Oh, how about, Peter, another very important incubator for Hong Kong, tech ecosystem. So, Peter.
Back to your question, in the past 5 years, actually we see in the Hong Kong market is a very aggressive growth. Say in terms of number of startups, 5 years ago is around 2,000 in Hong Kong, but now as of today is close to 4,000 just within 5 years' time. And in terms of investment, I think, as Eric mentioned, we see very, very good track records. Say, I'll cite an example of Science Park. We have a very small corporate venture fund started in 2015. What we're trying to do is to have some one-on-one matching fund, equity investment with the private sector. So we complete the first round of funding. We actually now start to have a second and third fund. And we are very glad that we're able to achieve 32 times the private sector investment that we are able to elicit from our small fund. So now we are actually having a second and a third fund very soon to focusing more on the latest stage rounds of investment. And in terms of number of companies, we are now in our main campus in Sha Tin. We're housing over 1,000 companies from 6 different technology clusters. So as you mentioned, the biotech sector is growing very, very aggressively. 4 or 5 years ago, we only support around 80 companies, biotech, medtech companies. Now it's over 150. So I think in terms of Hong Kong, apart from digital technology, business model innovation, we are also very strong in terms of deep tech. So up and coming, we're focusing more on microelectronics, advanced manufacturing, as we have new infrastructures in Zhang Guan Old Industrial Estate. We just established the Advanced Manufacturing Center, and we're planning for a second one also. So I think the whole scene, we see that is very aggressive. And in terms of the startups, we keep on expanding our incubation and acceleration program. Now we're able to support startups from the idea stage all the way through to IPO stage. And in terms of corporate innovation, apart from promoting entrepreneurship from our incubation programs, we are very much focusing on corporate innovations. We've been running a lot of different cohorts covering different industry segments, including prop tech, banking, finance, and insurance, etc. So at this present moment, within the past 3-4 years, we're able to start from 1 corporate partners to 250. So we are very happy that apart from private investment, the corporate buy-in corporate innovation is very important, not just for innovation technology, but for the traditional industries in Hong Kong. So we are very pleased to work together with all the ecosystem participants. In terms of ecosystems, I remember 5 years ago, we only have 3 public sector incubators, Cyberport, Science Park, and the Hong Kong Design Center, with a couple around 20-something players in the market. And as of today, it's over 120. So I think the growth is very magnificent.
Wow, it seems that, the breadth and depth of the ecosystem has expanded exponentially over the years. Then how about, Ricky, from your professional valuation background, you actually interact with a lot of, investors and also issuers. So how about views about the development of Hong Kong R&D ecosystem over the years?
Yes, and I have witnessed a very great achievement of Hong Kong in the past few years in terms of fundraising and providing capital to the startup and listed company. And the achievement probably attribute to the changing of the rules and regulation, especially on the listing rule. We have introduced a very voting rights company listed in Hong Kong. And also we allow pre-revenue biotech company, that's Echo. I would say that we are right now, given the very short period of time, we are now a second largest biotech listing location in Hong Kong. And also we create, Hong Kong has also created a link between mainland and Hong Kong. Right now we have an equity link, allow the Chinese investor through the link invest in the stock in Hong Kong. That's provide a very good, it's a very good momentum to create a capital market in Hong Kong. I would like to add further, we also see Hong Kong Stock Exchange release the second listing requirement. They are not restricted to the innovative company at all. They will also allow other form of company get the second listing and then introduce a SPAC listing chapter. Hopefully we can create Hong Kong not only focus on the capital market for Chinese company. At the end of the day, as an international capital market, we need more, for example, Asia Pacific company or international company, they will spin off their China business listed in this region and fund their development in this region as well.
Wow, so what I heard is actually, the Hong Kong tech ecosystem has been expanding in terms of both, the numbers of startups and also, the kind of technology. Now, deep tech is a lot really high, it's deep tech, and also about the listing platform or financing platform, about the investors community as well. So as you all now, have commented, over the years, Hong Kong has tremendous, growth and expansion in the R&D ecosystem. And but other key cities, for example, in the GBA, had also banked on their strength to contribute. Like Shenzhen, it has been named the China's Silicon Valley. On the other hand, Dongguan has been evolving from a world factory to now advanced manufacturing hub, while Guangzhou is actually as a integrated transportation hub, as well as technological, educational, and cultural center. So what do you want to see more, in the future developments of the GBA, in making it a somewhat, R&D powerhouse? So maybe this time I will let, Peter, you say your comments first.
Yeah, so I think the GBA development is a very important opportunity for companies in Hong Kong, as well as for overseas companies. If they want to enter the China market, this is the best timing. So under the 14th five-year plan of China, it was earmarked the GBA as China's international tech center. And based on this position, Hong Kong is uniquely positioned as an international technology hub. So our role is very important based on this one, okay? And then in terms of GBA, what we're trying to do is to work with the cities that you mentioned. We have 9 cities in China plus Macau, right? Each has its own strengths, weaknesses, and focuses. What we're trying to do is to find the complementary value and our own core competence to work together with them. Say, for example, we are going to have a branch of Science Park very soon, but later this year in Shenzhen, in Futan. This is joint initiative of the Hong Kong government and the Shenzhen government. What we're trying to do is set up a headquarters function in Shenzhen to land companies from Hong Kong and the other way around from China to Shenzhen to Hong Kong. Okay. Apart from Shenzhen, we will work with, say, other cities like Dongguan. You mentioned correctly, in Dongguan for the overseas companies, enterprise in Dongguan, 40% of them are from Hong Kong. So these are our major customers. What we're trying to do is to work with them in terms of advanced manufacturing, as well as they're very strong in microelectronics, as well as special materials. They have, in Dongguan, we have one of the 4 in the world, very special laboratory for new materials. There's only 4 in the world, and there's one in Dongguan. So we need to work with them very closely together. And in terms of Guangzhou that you mentioned, there is a cultural transport hub. But from our perspective, we're trying to focus on medical science because there's a very high concentration of the top-tier hospitals in the whole GBA is concentrated in Guangzhou. So in Hong Kong, we're very strong in medical science as well as clinical research. The Hong Kong Clinical Research Center is very, very strong. What we're trying to do is bridge all this together to take a bigger market, more patients. So when we do the, say, clinical trial, it will be very, very different. So each city in the GBA has own unique advantages. What we need to do is to have our core competence and work with them. And then the second question is, in what way can we contribute? In Hong Kong, we are very strong in basic research. We have 6 very world-leading research universities in Hong Kong, plus we're supporting a program called Innovate Hong Kong, where we have 28 leading collaborative research projects from leading universities around the world. So together with this, focusing on basic and translational research, we'll take these technologies into the GBA and work with the environment. So that is very important, a unique complementary value that Hong Kong can offer. Apart from, of course, as a financial center, international financial center on the 走出去 strategies. What we're trying to do is to attract companies from different parts of China, go through our Futan campus very soon, later this year, and channel them into Hong Kong for listing and institutional capitals. That's what we're trying to do. And through these processes, what we're trying to do is to enable the world, different companies from different parts of the world to see Hong Kong is not just a Hong Kong market in itself, but it's really a gateway into GBA, through GBA to China and Asia.
Then how about, Ricky, from perspective,
In terms of integration with GBA area, I think GBA area definitely provide a huge market to Hong Kong startup and company. And of course, the 9 cities in GBA area have different function and strength. If we can work together, we may provide an opportunity to going out, as I mentioned and referred by Eric before. And China recently signed the regional comprehensive economic partnership agreement among the 10 cities in South Asia, and then plus 5, including China, Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. That will, once we get an integration with a GBA area, we will help the company to make investment in those regions, as well as bring the goods between, encourage a trade between the region and China. That's the way we, I think as a market, we need to diversify. In the past, we so rely on Western countries, but right now, we need to shift from east to west, west to east, sorry. And I just saw HSBC recent guess, and by 2025, Asia will account for 38% of GDP growth in Asia. That's the huge potential we need to consider.
Wow, Eric, any other thoughts?
Well, I guess, from startup perspective, is quite obvious, is great news, right? Because we suddenly have, more than 10 times of the populations, compared to Hong Kong alone. So definitely market access and investor access is one thing. But then under the Greater Bay Area, this great policy, I see, this 9+2 cities, working in collaborations to build the powerhouse for China, innovation and tech. In a sense, it's just like a football team, right? 11, players working together, and I guess the core cities like Hong Kong, Macau, Guangzhou, Shenzhen should actually lay a framework to leverage various complementary advantage of the other keynote cities to work in a very coordinated way to build this powerhouse. And Hong Kong startup would need a lot of help from the other cities. For example, like Peter has just mentioned, this advanced manufacturing, people, our startups would need to produce their products in a cost-effective way, and also the logistic and distribution support, etc. Right? But then, I guess Hong Kong has a lot to offer as well. Hong Kong, already have this traditional core strength as the international finance center. We are also the international trade center, and we also is a center for global, legal and dispute resolutions. Right? These are the core strengths. And we also have emerging cores coming, like the IP trading, right? The INT hub, and also the aviation hub as well, right? So if we can actually consolidate all these strengths, definitely there's a bright futures for Hong Kong INT sectors. And when I zoom into Cyberport, again. We already have startups opening over close to 100 offices in the GBA cities. We facilitated their expansion to the GBA market through a lot of partners. We need our partners in those cities, and we have already established 12 lending partners to help our startup go into GBA. But definitely, we also would like to offer Cyberport, Hong Kong, as a launch pad for GBA companies to go global through our platform, right? And I think definitely we need to really work together with all the cities rather than competing with each other. We should compete with the other Bay Area of the world, like San Francisco Bay Area or Tokyo Bay Area. And I have big confidence that we are able to do it with all the strength that I've just mentioned.
Wow, definitely. There's a lot of discussion and also collaboration that we need to do in order to becoming 1 + 1 = 3, right? As what the recent CE elect he mentioned is one of the manufacturers 1 + 1 to be equal to 3. And lastly, just coming back, to the hottest and also sexiest, Web3 developments. So Hong Kong has seen an edge by having a very, powerful payer, a Web3 payer, Animoca brand, and also is leading open NFT metaverse platform. And so, so the question is, how do you see the role of Hong Kong or even GBA in driving the development of Web3 world? So possibly maybe this time I will have, Ricky, you start first.
Yeah. Definitely Web3. I'm not a technical guy, but from my perspective, I'm more concerned on the integration and among those 9 cities as what Hong Kong can play. As evolving to the Web3, I think we should have a challenge. We have more challenge on the data and data security and cyber security, as well as we have a compliance issue among the local law and requirement. And we need to face our investor as well. They maybe come from foreign company, and they have more concern on the ESG issue. So I would say compliance on data and information security is very important.
Wow. So how about Eric? Animoca brand definitely is one.
Yeah, well, we are lucky enough, to have Yatsio and, his related companies like Animoca brands, in our community for a long time, for many years. Actually, with his help, we managed to, back in 2019, we brought the first Asia Blockchain Gamers Conference to Hong Kong, leveraging Cyberport annual flagship event, Digital Entertainment Leadership Forum. And we saw, all these innovations in blockchain gaming and its potential. And since then, we've been actually proactively collaborating with that community. And over these few years, we have attracted a number of, metaverse, NFT, and other related companies joining our community through our entrepreneurship development program, as well as our partnership programs. So, in this kind of, the Web 3.0 and Metaverse and all these presented, a lot of promises. With this convergence of physical world with virtual reality and augmented reality and all these, I would see, kind of limitless possibilities of how we work and how we play, and ultimately how we live. And with this development, what I can see is there will be a lot of opportunities for innovators to make use of this kind of technologies to test run, their applications, their innovations before the real life application or commercializations. And then, with the, all this NFT and all this, is also produce a platform for a sustainable development of art and creative industry. Just last year, we worked with some of our partners to bring hundreds of artists or cross-media creators to Cyberport to meet up with our technology companies. And through that, we hope that we can introduce a lot of our technologies to the artists, to the creators, to see how they could work together, to create something interesting. And then we also see this also as an avenue for the art industry to make money, to monetize it, through the platform. As I said, right, we are bringing some gaming company to the Nordic region this month, and I see that we will be continuing to, support this kind of development. Although we don't know how it's going to take shape, but it is definitely going to, give a big push, to the digital entertainment cluster that already present in Cyberport. And obviously, we will continue to work with people like Animoca Brands and, the world-leading, Web 3.0, key players.
Wow, there's a big role to play for Hong Kong, right? Cyberport has really grown, right? The Web3 power player. How about, Peter?
Yeah, actually, we are very delighted to see some initial success in these areas from startups in Hong Kong. And we believe that there will be more companies, more startups from Hong Kong or the regions coming up, okay? That's important. We need to reinforce, we need to maintain, hopefully it's a first mover advantage, which is very important for the innovative businesses, number one. Number two is that I'm very happy also to see the corporate investment, so venture investment side start to really follow the Web3 related technologies. So recently you can see some very successful transaction in terms of crypto, exec, custody, the Web3 related technology, infrastructure service provider, etc. And I believe in the coming near future, the so-called digital or crypto AUM, asset under management, will increase. I think that's very important. As it liberates a lot of the freedom protection when you compare to Web 2, I think this is important. And also in terms of GBA and China, although the approach could be a little bit different from what we're doing here in Hong Kong and the rest of the world, but I do believe that the market traction is there. They start to focusing on Web3, metaverse, etc. And in particular, they're very much dedicated to the application and development of blockchain technology, which is underlying a lot of your new initiatives, including the CBDC. So as an innovation technology platform provider, builder in the GBA, I think we'll try our best to collaborate with various different players, different stakeholders to help the startups, tech ventures in Hong Kong, in the region, to be successful in GBA.
Wow. So besides, Hong Kong alone, there's still a lot of space for Hong Kong to really, to lead this development into regions. So very exciting. So thank you very much for sharing today. I'm sure that the participants will get a lot of takeaway. And so thank you for joining us. Thank you.